Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Alex King and Bill G. Today is Tuesday, June the 4th, 2019. It is 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 1 p.m. in London, 10 p.m. in Sydney. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And we are off to a humorous start here. We are making jokes. We are laughing at each other. I'm not sure if that's actually a good thing, but it's got humor, so
it's always a good thing.
That's the way I'm going to interpret it today. So, and whenever I see Alex with her ears on, then I know it's a good thing. So, you know, we're in good shape.
Well, that's every Tuesday and Thursday.
That's about it. Yes, exactly. And I also have a couple of little updates for listeners who have been following along. First of all, we are in the last stages, actually, of our casting process for The Grass is Greener, the audio play that Alex and I have been producing and putting together, and now have the assistance of my sister, PJ, who's going to be directing it. And we've got a pretty good pool of candidates, Alex. I mean, we still have some selections to make, but even a couple of listeners of the podcast have become candidates, which is pretty cool. So, I mean, we can't really give any spoilers yet, but I think we can agree that we're going to have a good cast by the time we're done, right?
I agree. I think
it's going to be a very good cast.
There are some superstars that are shining right now.
Absolutely, yeah. Wouldn't it be great if this not only takes off, but we help launch some careers?
Well, you know what's funny? I saw a thing on, it was an ad, I want to say an ad or something on Facebook, and it said, do you have an idea for a TV show? And I was like, we're not ready yet, but yes. If this ad is here in another, maybe a year, then yes, definitely.
Can you actually see that? I mean, I've thought about that a little bit.
That's how I'm writing it.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Because I've been contemplating that. And, you know, the biggest issue for me is kind of like the same issue as going from a stage play to a movie. Because so often people get upset because you don't use the same actors in the movie as you use in the stage play. And
I don't think that'll be an issue with this. I mean, if they're that intent on the voices, like, oh, this is the voice of Nance, so it can't be anybody else, then no. You do have some super fans that are like that, like with the Marvel movies and stuff like that, when things don't go according to the comic book, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So it can get like that, but it'll be fine.
It's going to be good no matter what. That much we do.
Facts.
Yes.
Facts.
No doubt about that. I was telling the story. Actually, I got a contact from one of our auditionees. She wanted to talk to me and find out more about what we're doing just because she was so interested. So we got on the phone and we talked, and I explained to her, you know, how this whole thing got started. And I told her the story about how Spotify purchased the Gimlet podcasts and paid $230 million for them. And then I went to listen to them and I found that they were terrible. And she said, oh, my God, you could just hear it in her voice, like, this was not a shock. It was really something. So, yeah. But no, it's good. Everything's working out good. So just wanted to let people know that that is happening. Also, I'm trying to do the announcements early. So become a subscriber if you're not yet a subscriber of this podcast, because, well, first of all, this is how you get the news about what's happening with The Grass is Greener. But also, this is how you find out about all the 5 shows we do every week that have very different content every single show. And very simple to do. Go to loatoday.net. Instructions are right at the top of your screen, and then share the fact that you are subscribing. And also, since I have my sturdy YouTube advisor on how to subscribe and notify on YouTube, I'm going to let Alex tell you that part of the story.
Okay, so what you do is you go to YouTube and you search LOA Today podcast videos. And once you've done that, you can hit the subscribe button, and next to the subscribe button, there's a little bell that'll notify you every time we go live. And also, once you've listened to the videos, hit the like button and let us know that you liked our show.
Ooh, very nice. Nice. Little ad in there. Yeah. It's one of those things that, on the one hand, it almost just seems like an ego thing, but on the other hand, it actually helps to pass the word along.
It does, yes.
Whenever you like something, that's how the algorithms work for this kind of thing. They share it with other people that you know perhaps, or that might be interested in the topic. So, yeah, we appreciate that. So please do that. That's a good thing. And we are on Tuesday. Tuesdays we talk about SRT and how it ties into our lives, and that's what Bill's going to be talking to us about a little bit today. And we're going to try to see if we can trip him up on some stuff. This is Stump Bill Day. No, I'm just
kidding. No.
Bill's got to go.
I'm just making your chain. That's all I'm doing. So, Bill, how you doing? How's your weekend? Doing good?
It was all right. I was in jury duty yesterday, so that was
Oh, what fun.
that was unpleasant, but
Yes.
I survived. I have to survive one more round of jury selection and then I'm done.
Good.
So,
is your town that small? Like, how do you have so much jury duty? I don't know. I swear every week he's.
The way it works in this town, and every town's different. And so every county, every town is different. So in the way it works in this one is you are selected.
Yeah.
And then you have to go for jury. You go 3 times for jury selection. And that's when they are doing the voir dire process where they're, picking the jury for certain trials. At the last one I was at, they were doing 3 different trials. They were seating for 3 different trials. So there were only 30 of us in the room being selected. So we knew everybody was going. Yeah. Everybody was going to be going. And so yesterday was the actual trial that I sat on, and I have to go again in July where 3 or 4 more cases will be seated. But once you do 3, if you have to sit on 3, once you go 3 times, you're done.
For how long?
They call you, until they call you back again. You got 2 years before they can call you back.
Which is tricky because he lives in a town of 977. So I mean, this rotation is really tight.
This could be a yearly occurrence. Like this. This could be like guest starring Bill.
Rutland County, Vermont has, I would say, if they've got 20,000 people, that'd be about right. So 20,000 people in a amount of square mileage equivalent to like New York City, in the 5 boroughs.
Wow.
So it's a very large area, mostly trees.
Well, sending trees to jury duty.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is that 5% of that population are clients of Nina's. So, I mean, it's really... Right.
I would, that would make me very happy.
It is so, and it is so.
But actually, there's good news on that front, too. Nina is going to be expanding her practice soon. She's going to be opening a acupuncture pain clinic.
Nice.
Yes. So, for 2 days out of the week, people can walk in, no appointment necessary, and get a half an hour appointment. That's all it is. 30 minutes, 6 needles, and, using a system called the Dr. Tong technique. And that greatly reduces pain. It's a model that's been used in several different localities, especially high working class areas, where people generally can't afford or they don't have health insurance that covers acupuncture. So the price is affordable for people just to walk in. You can go and see the acupuncturist twice a week to reduce your pain and inflammation. And so she's getting away from the traditional hour-long sessions with people where, there's a lot of talking involved and whatever, and going more towards a model where she sees 3 patients at a time and where she's constantly rotating them in and out and in and out. So it's kind of like a restaurant style of acupuncture, which has proven to be extremely effective, especially for people who don't have a lot of time on their hands, who can't really plan, who don't have the ability to plan a week in advance because work schedules are weird and whatever. And so you just walk in, lay on the table, or you wait 30 minutes for the table to get available. You do your thing and you go home.
Cool.
I don't know. Speaking for myself, I think I'd rather go to a feel better clinic than to a pain clinic. But to each his own.
Well, yeah.
Unfortunately, you say feel better clinic, and that's a whole different.
Absolutely.
People are going to be walking in there surprised.
Well, we recently took a seminar on how to build the practice more. Actually, it was actually like a 10-week, 90-day mentorship. And the number one thing they say is, in order for people to feel attracted to what you have to offer them in terms of healing is you have to speak to the pain. You have to, you have to let them know in the first 2 seconds, we're going to address your pain.
Yes.
And if you have pain, and that's something I do with my own thing too, because what I tell people is people come to see me when they are at a crossroads in their life. If you are at a crossroads in your life and you feel like you don't know which direction you're going and you feel like your life's kind of falling apart or whatever, that's when you come and see me, because I will help you, or Spirit is going to help you figure out where you are now. What are the programs that you're running right now? Clear them, and then give you an idea of the path that you should be taking in order to live your best life. But in order to, address that population, you have to say, you have to address the pain. Like, are you at a crossroads in your life? Do you feel like nothing's going right? You can't.
This sounds like one of those late night depression commercials.
Right.
Are you awake at 2 a.m.? Yes, I am. I'm watching you.
Also, another fun thing that's happened is I was on another podcast last week.
You cheater.
Hey, wow. I did a lot of cross promotion of you guys. So
okay, all right, fair enough.
So fair is fair. I'm doing
as long as the other woman knows about me. That's all I care about.
Yes.
You see, I really didn't mean it when I said that we were in a humorous mood today. Yes. I was dead serious. This is not a joke.
Okay. Anyway,
so you were on another podcast.
The podcast is Star Narratives with Nadia Campanella. And
it is a woman. Okay.
Yeah.
This is great.
Didn't you know about this?
It's a very different kind of interview.
Okay.
It hasn't been posted yet, but when it gets posted, it's just like I said, it's called Star Narratives. It's astrology. It's what she did was she did my chart, and then we talked about my life. We talked about my work. It was a very different kind of interview than what you get here.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. Virtually every interview is a different interview from what you get here.
Right.
That goes with the territory,
Okay. So anyway, what are we talking about today?
I asked you first.
We are talking about SRT because that's what I do, spiritual response therapy. And I'm reading excerpts out of my book, which is Conscious Conduit, A User's Guide to Ascension. By the way, as a side note, I've outlined my new book, which hopefully I'll be writing this summer and have it done by the fall. It's going to be Conscious Conduits, A User's Guide to Ascension, Part 2, but it's probably not going to be called that. That's just a working title. But again, it's going to be another user's guide because recently we've been doing a lot of work with clients and whatever, and we've been finding that based on actually conversations that we've had here on LOA today, and also conversations that I've had with clients and also my blog posts and whatever, we have, I found that my first book, as good as it is, you should buy your copy today, is,
shameless promotion. I love it.
Shameless promotion.
Shameless plug.
This new book is going to go deeper into that. Into how to use this stuff in your everyday life in order to make yourself, live your best life. So, it's going to be pretty awesome. So anyway.
So Alex, I think this means you and I have to be on our best behavior because we're going to be quoted in a book now. So we got to be careful.
Listen, if I'm going to be quoted, I want you to quote me for me. I'm not going to be on my best behavior.
You guys.
I love it. All right. Take away.
I keeps the one.
I guarantee you guys will be in the book.
Okay. Then it's going to be an amazing book because I keeps it 100 all day, every day.
Okay. So anyway, So, we've in the past episodes, we've talked about the pendulum. We've been talking about what makes a good pendulum. And I'm specifically focusing on chapter 2 of the book of Conscious Conduit, which is called Pendulum Wise.
Uh-huh.
Now, the first part of the book, I'm talking about what makes a good pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
And what materials you should look for, what materials you should avoid, and that sort of thing. So we talked a little bit about that when you and I were talking with Linda Armstrong.
I was going to say I missed that.
Yeah. Well, we talked about that in the sense that some people like crystals. I generally shy away from crystals because they have their own energetic signature, but but doing spirit research work, you want something that's a little more inert. Some people prefer a really long chain. Other people prefer a very short chain, and this is all just a matter of taste. The weight on the pendulum probably shouldn't be more than 10 ounces. Anything more than that, and it just gets it can cramp your wrist, it can, whatever. You don't want anything more than that. You don't want anything really a whole lot lighter than that either, because you need to be able to feel some kind of heft to your pendulum. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I'm feeling like I screwed up because when I bought my pendulum, I didn't weigh it.
Well, the thing is, when I was writing the chapter, I was like, okay, what makes a good pendulum? Because I had a whole variety. I was making some for a show that I was doing. I was selling them. And I was like, okay, all right, this one feels good. This one feels, okay. This one feels, whoa, this one's kind of heavy. And I was like, I bet you there's a lot of people out there that, would like some guidance on this stuff. Because when you go shopping for a pendulum, you're thinking, one pendulum's just like any other. But, there's variety out there. There's fancy ones. I did one that's still on my stuff to sell, and what I did was I went to Hobby Lobby and got a whole bunch of weights. And some of them are really, really fancy with a lot of bling to them. So, and there's other ones that are quite plain.
Oh, yeah. I like the one that Linda has that she calls her etheric weaver.
Right.
It's made of a whole bunch of different stuff. I really don't know what it's made of, but it's cool looking. It looks actually much too heavy to actually use on a regular basis, but it's great looking. It looks fabulous.
So for myself, I recommend something like this. It's got a piece of plastic at the end of it. It's got a relatively short chain, and it's got a little thing at the top so you can hold on to it so that when it's spinning, it doesn't fly out of your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Very practical. And also a nice thing about having something this small is that it can fit right in your pocket, and you can take it with you wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the pendulum is not just an excellent tool for SRT. Spirit informs me that the pendulum is an excellent tool to help you navigate your everyday life. If your health or financial security is preventing you from doing the work, then your high self wants you to get those things taken care of. So doing spirit work does not come with a vow of poverty.
That's nice to know.
Yes. So the reason why Spirit encourages you to use the pendulum in this manner, because some people may say, followers of Wicca were like, oh, no, you can't do that because anything you do that's selfish for your own personal gain, you're going to develop bad karma with.
Yeah.
And Spirit comes back and says, not so much, because the reason why Spirit, in order for you to be a channel for high self, you have to be able to live.
Mm-hmm.
So your health, your fitness, your financial security need to be intact in order for you to do the work. And nothing is more important than the work. The work is the most important thing because we're all in this process of ascension. The energy is crazy and is going to continue to get crazier. So if you're going to be doing the work, you need to be able to you need to make sure that you have the things in order for you to live. And that means attracting the good things in your life. Money, security, shelter, your basic needs have to be met in order for you to do the work. Now, the biggest challenge with using the pendulum to increase your own health and prosperity is getting over our old friend, that ego. Remember, the ego is a selfish, apathetic, and rarely satisfied entity. So the ego has no place when it comes to increasing one's property and health. So your ego, so that's something that's very interesting, because the ego sees the world through the lens of the zero-sum game. And for those who don't know, the zero-sum game is the belief that in order for someone to get ahead in the world, somebody else needs to lose. There are winners and losers. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And,
I'm not sure it makes sense. I understand what you're saying. I think it makes very little sense, but yes.
Right. It makes little sense. But so as long as your ego has been reduced down to less than that 3%, I've talked about the 3% before,
mm-hmm.
you can do the work and you can get the things that you need. But again, you need to reduce that ego, because the ego, like I said, it's selfish, it's apathetic, and it's generally, and it's never satisfied. Your sense of I want is never gets satisfied, and it can get in the way of you doing your highest work. So you reduce the ego. You say, Spirit, give me what I need. Provide me what I need in order to do the work, and it'll happen.
Can I ask a question along this line?
Sure, absolutely.
This is actually something I was thinking about, believe it or not, overnight. I woke up in the middle of the night around 3 o'clock, and I'm thinking about the topic of the ego. And it occurred to me, I just wanted to run this by you, see what you think. It occurred to me that when we're talking about the ego getting in the way, another way of saying the same thing is we're focusing on what we don't really want.
Right.
We're focusing on lack. We're focusing on, I don't have it. We're focusing on, oh God, I'm in such pain. I really want this other thing. We're focusing on what we don't want.
Right.
A lot of that.
Or worse, focusing on that the belief that in order for me to get ahead or for me to succeed, someone else needs to fail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, all of those are positions of, well, do you really want to attract what that brings along? That's
right.
My mind. Do you really want that?
Talk about karma. That's a bad thing.
Whoa.
So, use number 1 of using your pendulum, making good food choices.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, and I believe there was a conversation way back. You were talking to Cindy Chavez about this, or maybe it was Wendy. I think it was way back.
Wendy Dillard, yeah.
Wendy Dillard, making good food choices, using law of attraction to raise the vibration of the food that you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not talking about raising the vibration here. We're talking about making the right choice. So let me read here. So let's say you're at the grocery store and that you're trying to plan meals that are healthy but taste good at the same time. A friend recommends try eating a kale salad. But you never had kale. You've never had a kale salad before. So you don't know how your body's going to react to it.
It's not so much the body that's bothering Alex; it's the taste buds that are bothering Alex right now.
If you can get past the taste buds, then it should be fine. I'm just going to cut out my tongue, and everything will be in order.
So what you do?
I'm with you, Alex. I can't stand kale. I mean, it just drives me nuts.
I actually didn't like kale for a while, but I have grown a taste for it. Because one thing they grow a lot of in Vermont is kale. Kale is a staple.
Mm-hmm.
So clear your mind and break out your pendulum. Now, I don't have any problem breaking out my pendulum at a grocery store. Some people have a problem with breaking out their pendulums at a grocery store because they feel like it attracts unwanted attention.
I've seen some awful strange things at grocery stores, so really that wouldn't bother me much at all by comparison.
Oh my God.
So,
here's an example. Would you believe that our grocery store has a robot?
Ooh, fun.
It like goes around on the floor and scares kids half to death. I mean, I have no idea what the purpose of this robot is, but they have a robot.
Okay.
Oh,
all
fun.
right. Taking over humans' jobs. That's great.
So anyway, first of all, you ask high self the percentage of benefit. And again, the wording of this question is important. Because if you ask the question from a position of ego, you're not going to get the right answer. If you're going to ask the question, am I going to enjoy this disgusting kale salad? You've already answered your question.
This is true, and I don't have to wave a pendulum around to know that.
Right.
So first of all, you ask your high self. Now we're assuming you've never had a kale salad before. So
okay.
So imagine some other kind of vegetable that you're being encouraged, like arugula or spicy greens or anything, any kind of vegetable or food or prepared food that someone says, oh, no, you really need to eat this because this is going to make you feel better. Okay? Now, you have no idea.
Candied beets.
Yeah.
Just
or any kind of food.
That's a hashtag nope on everything you just said.
We're assuming here that you are looking to change your diet for the better.
All right.
Well, you didn't say that part. I mean, come on.
For the sake of conversation, yes.
Yes, for the sake of conversation, and actually, this is that resistance you're giving me is your ego.
Mm-hmm.
Is your ego saying?
Me. It's saying
Which is why it's important to reduce the ego.
Yes.
Reduce the ego and then say, okay, ask high self the percentage of benefit you will derive by eating that kale salad. Since most people do not bring their SRT charts with them to the grocery store, imagine.
I mean, I do. I don't know what everybody else is thinking. I don't, how do you gotta bring all your lists. You gotta bring the grocery list. I mean, I don't know.
I didn't say I was a bad writer. Okay. So what you do is in front of you, you imagine a fan chart, in your mind where the extreme left is 0 and the extreme right is 100. And so then you just ask, what is the percentage of benefit? And see where the pendulum goes.
Question.
Yes.
Now, if you're imagining the chart, wouldn't your ego get in the way and create?
Well, we've already reduced the ego. And again, you've worded the question to avoid the ego getting back into it. Because the question is, what is the percentage of benefit to my body that this is going to have? You're not asking any question about enjoyment. You're not asking any question about taste. And you're not even asking any questions about, and so we're seeing Alex in the grocery store right now. We're imagining Alex in the grocery store. She's at the produce aisle. She's looking at that kale salad thinking, oh my God, my doctor says I really, really should eat this. Okay. All right. Everybody stand back.
That's what I would do, actually.
Everybody stand back and break out that pendulum. It's like, okay, ego, I'm going to forget for a moment that looks disgusting.
It doesn't look disgusting. It just tastes disgusting.
Okay, I'm going to forget for a moment that tastes disgusting. I'm going to forget for a moment how, what that feels like in my mouth, the texture. Yuck, 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 yuck. I'm going to forget about that. I'm simply asking the question, percentage of benefit that my body is going to derive by eating that particular item.
I don't think that's going to work. I mean, you basically just outlined it in a way that's going to make you focus on, I don't like this thing.
No, you're not.
If you really want to take your mind off of that, you got to focus on what you're going to like about it. You haven't stated anything like that.
Right. Well, it's again that is. But
that's
what I'm
ego too.
focusing.
Like you can't go either way.
Well, again, I'm focusing on the percentage of benefit to my body.
Okay.
So I'm reducing the ego. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to assume for a moment that there is no taste involved. I'm taking that out of it. Ego is taking a back seat. We're just looking at percentage of benefits. And so then the pendulum's going to give you a response from anywhere between 1 to 100%, 0 to 100% of benefit. If you get anything greater than 80%, then you ask the question, is there a way that this can be prepared that I'm going to have enjoyment of that food item? Yes and no.
I mean, for me, I think I'd reverse the order of the questions, because the moment that I've been talking about how I'm going to take out of my mind this thing that I dislike is the moment I'm focusing on the thing that I dislike. So if I want to turn that around, I gotta, before I even ask the pendulum anything, I gotta think to myself, well, let's see, is there some way that I could enjoy this thing? So I can change that vibration around. Otherwise, I mean, I could deny it all I want to, but it's still going to be there. That vibration's still going to be there.
I agree with you. Because you're dealing with something you've already tasted and already decided that you didn't like.
Yeah.
Now, again, what I'm using here as an example is you've never tasted it before. This is something you've never tasted before.
We did assume that. Yes. That's true.
But yes, you are absolutely correct. If you're looking at something that you've already tasted and already decided that I'm not going to like this, but your doctor has told you, no, you really need to eat this because kale is going to increase your iron count, is going to, increase your folic acid and, all of these things that are extremely healthy about that particular item. You really, really need to do it. And you're like, okay, all right. I'm just going to ask Spirit if it agrees with my doctor here. I'm going to first ask, is there a way that this can be prepared that I am going to enjoy? And if the answer comes back, yes, that there is a way, okay, all right, there is a way. Personally, my personal taste when it comes to kale, I do not like eating kale raw. I think it is, I don't like the texture. I don't like, it's very gritty. And so I'm not particularly fond of eating kale raw, but I love it sauteed.
Okay.
So if you throw some olive oil in the pan, you chop up some garlic.
Cut off the stems, for God's sake.
You chop it up and you saute it with a little bit of soy sauce, and I love it that way. I think that is the best way to have it prepared.
Okay.
Now, not everybody's going to like it that way. Some people like a raw kale salad where you got quinoa thrown in and some cranberries and some oil and vinegar. Some people like that. I'm not overly fond of that, but I need to eat more kale in my diet. Therefore, that's how I'm going to prepare it, so that way I can get maximum enjoyment out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes more sense. I'm more with you now. Yeah, my mind is still saying, oh God, not kale, but beside that part, okay.
So anyway, now you're asking the question, you're getting a higher than 80% that this is going to be very good for you. And so now you're asking the question of how can I prepare this so that I can get the maximum enjoyment out of it? Because face it, I mean, there are lots and lots of diets out there that are extremely good for you that people are like, nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen because that is not only looks disgusting, it tastes disgusting, and give me my meat. I wanted that thing full of carcinogens, done on the barbecue. I don't care if it's bad for me, and I don't care that it's killing me. That's what I'm going to eat.
Well, I'm also going to speak in favor of the idea that I don't think in terms of eating the so-called bad stuff as if it were bad.
Right.
And I do that for the reason that Abraham teaches about. I love the example they give. The example they give is somebody who is overweight, wanting to lose some weight, and they're tempted about going into an ice cream parlor.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Abraham says, if you go into that ice cream parlor with the mindset that is actually a healthy mindset, and it's a feel-good mindset, and it's a trim and thin mindset, you can eat 1,000 gallons of ice cream and you won't put on any weight. Because
that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, the mindset. And I remember, you mentioned Wendy Dillard. Wendy was the one that I had that conversation with.
Right.
We both were talking about that book. I actually also had that conversation with David Barkey when he was also a co-host. And I love Wendy's comment. She says, I'm sure I read that before. Mm-hmm. But because I've had weight issues, because she has had weight issues most of her life, she says, I guarantee you when I got that, I said, yeah, well, that's not working. I'll just go on to the next part. She just missed it. and that's what most people do. They listen to that. They say, well, that's nonsense. So I'm just going to go on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
right.
Maybe
Or
reevaluate that. I mean,
yeah.
I really do think it's important to shift the way we think about things.
Yeah.
And I go into that before we go into doing anything with a pendulum or any other method. I think the thought process has to come first.
I go into that in detail in chapter 3 of the book.
Oh, okay.
Is how to raise the vibration of the food, because sometimes we go into, say, a restaurant, or we're hanging out with friends and whatever, where our food choices, we can't make the maximum food choices, because it's not every day that when we're out, we're going out with friends where, everybody wants to go to a steakhouse and you want to go to the vegan bistro.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so majority rules, and you're now sitting there at the steakhouse, you look at the menu or you go to a barbecue place and whatever, and you're looking at the menu and you're like, well, I can sit here and say to everybody, well, I can't eat anything, and make everybody miserable because, you're going to be, you're coming off as the
Debbie Downer.
As the Debbie Downer of the group.
Especially yourself, because they're all eating food that you're going to get a lot of enjoyment out of. Mm-hmm. And you're like, no.
Or you can get your side of broccoli and be happy.
Right. I spent about 8 years in my 30s being a pescatarian, which is someone who doesn't eat land animals, but I would eat fish, and I would eat a mostly vegetarian diet.
Mm-hmm.
And when the biggest challenge with that diet is going out to eat, because I'm also allergic to peppers.
Oh dear. Yeah, that is a problem.
And when you get most vegetarian dishes at restaurants have precarious amount of peppers in it.
Oh,
yep. They got to bring it alive somehow.
Yep. And so oftentimes I would go to a restaurant and I would be searching the menu for anything I could eat. And then I would find something and not get a whole lot of enjoyment out of it because everybody else is getting other things.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually I ended that diet because it was just, especially when I moved to Kentucky. Oh my God, that was very difficult in Kentucky.
That would be impossible.
Not a lot of seafood in Kentucky.
Not a whole lot of seafood in Kentucky, and almost everything has meat in it in Kentucky.
Facts.
And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to raise the vibration of what I'm eating rather than being the Debbie Downer of the group. So, and that's where that whole thing came in where, okay, I'm going to use spirit to raise the vibration of what I eat. Okay. So that's but when you go to a grocery store though, and you're planning out the menu of what you're going to be eating, you do have a lot more choices in front of you. You don't have to go to the meat section and buy pounds and pounds of hamburger because you've got a whole grocery store. You've got a lot more choices in front of you. You can choose, instead of going to the main chain grocery store, you can go to the local organic co-op, or you can go to the Whole Foods, or you can go to, there are stores out there now that promote a healthy lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And if you have trouble with the Abraham Hicks idea of walking into a ice cream parlor and eating gallons of ice cream and not gaining a pound, if you've got a problem with that,
yeah, I wouldn't actually do that if there's a problem. Let me just put that little statement out there. We're not recommending that you go eat 1,000 gallons of ice cream if you don't have the right mindset, because it's not going to work the way you're hoping.
Well, there goes my plans for the day.
So if you need, and most people need this, most people need to feel as though they are making the good choice. Mm-hmm. And there are plenty of opportunities for you to go out and make the good choice. And again, you go in there, and I see them in the because I go shopping at a health food store every week, and I see the people. You see the faces. You get to recognize the faces of everybody who goes shopping there, especially in Vermont. And so and you see the people you don't recognize, and generally these people are overweight, or they're there because their doctor said, you really need to do something. Go shop at the. Don't go to Hannaford's anymore. Go somewhere else.
Okay.
So now you are in the health food store, and they look lost. You see them; they're like looking at a list, and they're like, "Oh my God, what the heck is this? What the heck is this? What the heck is this? I gotta get a what?" and they have no idea what things are going to taste like, and they have no idea whether or not they're going to enjoy it. And to avoid a lot of that frustration, because usually you see those people in the grocery store and then you never see them again. Because they went once and they got frustrated, and then they end up in the prepared food area, and and they fill their shopping carts with stuff they would have gotten anyway over at the Hannaford's or whatever. And it's got just as much salt and just as much calories. It just happens to be organic or gluten free, and they ended up and they're paying twice as much for it as they would over at the other store. And so they go once, they realize I've just doubled my grocery bill and I haven't done anything good for myself. I'll just go back to my other store and whatever. This is a way, using the pendulum and whatever, to say, okay, all right, I'm here. I know I need to be here. I know I need to be doing something better for myself than what I've been doing. What foods can I pick that are going to give me the maximum benefit and that I'm most likely to enjoy, and also help me figure out the best way to prepare these foods so that I get maximum enjoyment out of them. And so that's how the pendulum can help you on that journey.
Now, here's an interesting question. It sounds like what you're suggesting is that the pendulum can be used for creating recipes. Am I reading that wrong?
You could use it. Could be. I've never tried it that way, but yes, you could do it. Could work that way.
Because let's be perfectly honest. I mean, the vegetarian realm, I'll just kind of generically call it that. I mean, there's a lot of different categories, but generically, the vegetarian realm in recent years has made some significant strides. But let's be honest, for most of the time, it's been pretty dull, boring food that nobody really wants to eat in the first place.
Right.
So, I mean, the one thing that's needed more than anything else is some really tasty recipes. I would think that would be like the best thing to use a pendulum for, unless you're a cook. Or a chef, rather, with someone who knows how to create stuff like that.
Oh, yes. The vegetarian cuisine has come a very, very long way. I remember 15, 20 years ago, I went to a restaurant and I ordered the vegetarian meal. And it consisted of frozen mixed veggies like the peas and the carrots and the corn, and a side of white mashed potatoes with no gravy. And I was like, what are you doing? You're trying to starve me to death here.
Yeah. I mean, I just imagine various parties I've gone to where they had the vegetarian dish and you took a scoop of it and you said to yourself, what the hell is this?
What the hell is this? And also on top of that, a vegetarian cuisine is more of a challenge to cook.
Oh, yeah.
Because, anybody can cook a burger. And
can they?
Or you can cook meat. Meat is actually very easy to cook as long as a little salt, a little pepper, you saute it on a pan, and you've got something that tastes good. And so there's not a whole lot of thinking involved there. So a lot of people, when they first start cooking vegetarian, they don't realize how to there's a lot more thinking involved in terms of flavor combinations in order to get that umami taste ooh, I gotta have some of that. And so my recommendation for anybody who is thinking about going on a vegetarian diet is to start going to some vegetarian restaurants, places that specialize in vegetarian cuisine, because those chefs get very creative when it comes to coming up with dishes that taste good and that are good for you. And, bring your little, your smart camera and take some pictures. Ask the chef, what's in this? So that way, when you go to the store and you start buying stuff for that, you can look up the recipe if it's available online, or just say, okay, all right, that has some kale, it's got some garlic in it, it looks like it's just been sautéed in some olive oil. I can do that.
I'd also make an additional recommendation. If you're going to do that route of going to a vegetarian restaurant and you haven't done vegetarian restaurants very much, the first thing I'd recommend is don't buy any entrees. Buy appetizers. So you can sample a bunch of things. Because chances are, if you don't have your taste buds acclimated to a vegetarian type food, any particular entree you pick, you're going to say, oh, I don't really like this. You need to have a variety of things to try to see if there's anything there that you enjoy. And once you find something that you enjoy, now you've got a basis for building. Right. But don't try to do it the other way. You'll never go back.
Right. Okay. Next item I wanted to talk about, as far as using the pendulum, is supplements, because that's something else that we do when we're trying to have a better time about building our health. Is what supplements should I have? I mean, if you go to a naturopath doctor, we went to one in Kentucky, and he had his own supplement pharmacy right there in his doctor's office. And he would make you this huge list of all these supplements to buy. And you could easily spend like $500 a month on supplements. And some of them are really expensive. Some of them aren't very expensive. But what combination is going to be right for you? And like I said, there are a lot of naturopath doctors out there who like to take the shotgun approach, where they prescribe to you a gazillion different supplements, and you're spending like $500-$600 on all these supplements. And most people are like, no, I'm not going to do that, because first of all, it's expensive. It's not covered by insurance, and I can't even use it as a tax deduction.
This is true.
So this is all out of pocket.
Although I imagine there are some people who, treat it as a tax deduction anyway, but they're saying
right.
when they do that.
But anyway, so you're like, okay. And again, you're going to, and then the other issue is that your doctor says, okay, you need to be taking a vitamin C supplement. We'll go simple. We'll say a vitamin C supplement. And so you go to the supplement aisle, and you're just like, okay, I need vitamin C. And then you look on the shelf, and there are a dozen different vitamin C blends for you to pick from. And then you're like, oh my God, which one do I pick?
Suddenly the red meat looks a whole lot more appetizing.
And suddenly and you're like, okay, I can choose. And then you look at the prices, and you're like, okay, that one has 600 pills for $50. This one has 400 pills for $25. And you're like, do I use price? What the heck am I doing here?
Oranges are a lot cheaper, and they cure scurvy. I'm just saying.
I think you're on the right track there, Alex. Personally, I agree with you.
Yeah, but oranges only have trace amounts of vitamin C, whereas your vitamin C supplements have a lot more bang for their buck.
With the oranges, the vitamins are actually alive.
That's true.
The vitamins are actually alive, and they're active, and they do things, whereas the ones in the pills, they're dead.
Not necessarily. There are a lot of them where they are alive. But again, which one do I pick? Which one's going to give me the right benefit? And so you break out your pendulum. And say you've got like 5 shelves in front of you. There's you've got a shelf.
That's easy. You just see which direction the pendulum goes in. That's pretty
simple. Exactly. You say, okay, high self, which shelf is it on? Well, and actually the first question is there anything here I should be taking?
That's a good question.
And if the answer comes back no,
then leave the store.
Then you can,
or at least the aisle.
and then you ask the question, is there anything here I should be taking? And then if it says yes, and then you're like, oh, something different. Tell me, Spirit, which shelf is it on? And it tells you which shelf it's on. And then you start going down the aisle, and then you use your left hand to touch the top of the bottle. Say, is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? And then when you get the yes response, then you look at the bottle, and it could be something completely different than what your doctor recommended.
Flintstone chewables. No, I'm sorry.
Solves every problem.
There you go.
High in vitamin C.
I have been doing this for vitamin supplements for a long time, and Flintstone chewables never comes up.
They never do? Oh, dear. Okay.
So now we have, so now you got something completely different. And it's like, oh, wait a second. My doctor said increase my vitamin C, and now I've got this pill that's not vitamin C. What do? You call your doctor. Say, hey, doc, I have this bottle in my hand, or take it, or use your smartphone to take a picture of the ingredients and text it to your doctor and say, hey, I found this pill, this bottle. I feel compelled that I should have it. Is this something that's going to hurt me? Is this something going to be contraindicated with any medications I'm taking? Because you don't want to take something if it's going to be contraindicated with a medication you take, because that's bad news.
Right.
Generally, Spirit won't guide you to stuff like that. But just to be on the safe side, this is not medical advice I'm giving here. Always.
Yes, we should also do that. We should put out the disclaimer. We're not giving medical advice on the show.
This is not medical advice.
I'm not even sure we're giving humor advice, to be honest, but that's all right.
Right.
I am.
So you say, okay, I got this bottle. Doc, is this something okay for me to take? And oftentimes you will find that this was not just, this is what your doctor wanted you to take in the first place, but they thought maybe it was a little too out there for you. Or you say, hey, can you check this one out and see if it's good for me? And they do the research on it, and they're like, hey, wow, that's something. How'd you come up with that? That is actually a lot better for you than what I recommended. You should take that. This has happened on more than one occasion where we were at the health food store, and Nina and I had clients that we were working with. And one of them had this very rare condition, and there is a herb that they could take in order to improve their condition. And so we went to the health food store, and we asked the pendulum, it's like, all right, is this what he should be taking? And it was highly recommended. It was peer-reviewed, whatever. This is what you should be taking for this particular condition that you have. Is this what he should be taking? No. We're like, okay. All right. And so we did. So we said, okay, clearing our minds. We're saying the whole shelf, every vitamin in here, every supplement in here is fair game now. Which one is it? And it narrowed down to this one very obscure bottle of supplement that when we read the indications, what it's for, was not for that condition at all. And we were like, okay, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so we took the bottle home, we did some research on it, and we found that in a clinical study, 2% of the people who were treated with this particular supplement saw not just decent results, but dramatically decent results. But it was only 2%.
I was going to say.
But it was only 2% of the population of the study. So they didn't print that on the bottle because, it doesn't represent a significant population.
Right.
But 2% of the people, it had extremely significant improvement. Mm-hmm. And so we gave it to him, and the patient had that dramatically significant improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Because they happen to be a member of that 2% population.
That's pretty cool. Because what that really is pointing to is the idea that there's no such thing as an average person. So the real question isn't whether or not something will help the average person. The real question is, will it help you?
Right. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, we would have never known that if we didn't have the pendulum at the herbal pharmacy to tell us which would be the supplement of the highest benefit for this particular patient. Mm-hmm. Because there are hundreds and thousands of different supplements out there right now. Mm-hmm. And so you never know. So your doctor says, okay, he gives you a prescription. Take this one, this one, this one, this one. And if they happen to be a distributor of a certain brand, they're going to recommend that brand because, you know, they get a percentage of that because that's how the way the business model works. But what's right for you? Well, you don't know what's really right for you because everyone's unique. And so you use the pendulum to say, okay, is this the one I'm going to get the maximum benefit out of, or is there something else I should be taking that's going to be giving me a better benefit? And if the pendulum comes back and says, hey, you need to be taking, there is something better out there that you could be taking. Okay, which one is it? And then when you find it, you tell your doctor, you say, okay, this one is what was recommended by my high self or whatever. Or if you don't want to say high self because you think that's too woo out there for your doctor to handle, you say, a friend recommended this one. Is it okay if I take this one instead? And if they give you the green light on that, take it because you've gotten the green light from high self and you've got the green light from your doctor that you can take it. And generally you will find much, much better results in your overall health by taking the supplement that is better for you, because high self was involved in that selection. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. No, we've got just a couple minutes left. I want to get a question in before we're out of time here.
Sure.
You have no problem bringing a pendulum to a health food store or any other store. Personally, I'm too self-conscious to do that. So my question is, can I do the same thing online? Can I get up images on my screen of various stuff?
Absolutely. Yes.
And I don't have to leave the comfort of my home. I can leave my slippers on, you know?
Right. And what you can do with that is you take a piece of paper and you put it horizontal and right across the top of it, the names of the different supplements you can choose from and say, okay, pendulum, pick out the right one.
Okay.
And first ask the question, are any of these things right?
Yeah, that's a good start. Yeah,
that's the start. Are any of these right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then if it comes back no, then you throw the piece of paper away and you start over.
Which saves a lot of gas.
It absolutely
wastes a lot of paper.
It does. But that's why I was thinking you could do it on your screen because, I mean, if you have any kind of artistic skill on the computer, you could just draw it on the screen, and when you're done, you erase it and, you know, don't have a file.
Oh yeah, well, whatever works for you.
Yeah. But
yes, it's I cannot tell you how many times I've used this, and I've had good results every single time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's worth
not just for myself, but also for clients.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I would think. I would imagine that's where you would use it more often, just because you are a consultant. That's what you do,
right? And we've got a lot of health food stores around. You know, you got co-ops. You've got, you know, even going into like someplace like GNC and whatever. You first ask the question before you come into the store: is there anything in this store that can help me?
Well, that's handy. If you get a no answer, then you're done.
Then you're done.
Right.
Next store.
Your next door, right.
So very good stuff. All right. Well, this has been interesting, and actually I got something good out of it. The idea that, you know, I can actually use the pendulum to pick stuff like that, and I don't have to go to the store to do it, which makes me feel, you know. So now my ego is satisfied because I don't really have to, you know, go up and do it in front of a whole bunch of people staring at me saying, what the frig is that guy doing? So,
right.
So with that pleasant thought in mind, I will thank you for that presentation. And Alex, I'll be talking to you next on Thursday we go with Joel Elson. So looking forward to that. Thank you to our live stream and especially to our podcast listeners because you guys are wonderful. By the way, I got to tell you guys, our listenership per show is up. Since we started doing it 5 days a week, once a day instead of twice a day, we're now averaging about 250 people per episode. So it's definitely up a lot. So
nice.
So thank you to our listeners. Thank you to my co-hosts as well. And we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.